What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another NFL video. Now, for many teams, for a majority of NFL teams, this is their offseason. Their offseason began either when Week 17 ended or it started the week that they lost in the playoffs, obviously being the wild card round as of recording this video. And, you know, for a lot of teams, this is a time to evaluate, right? For a lot of teams, this is a time to evaluate strengths and weaknesses and then obviously go to free agency and the draft to try to fix the aforementioned weaknesses. And as we don't know the free agent class 100% just yet because a lot of players haven't been re-signed, a lot of players haven't been re-signed or, released or however that's going to work. We don't exactly know who's going to be in the free agent class just yet. So I figured the next best option was to take a look at this draft class, take an early look at some of the big name prospects, some of the best prospects in the draft, kind of evaluate them, break them down, go over their strengths, weaknesses, skill sets, statistics, and everything you need to know about said prospect. And then come draft time, we will have as much information as possible so that we can be as informed as possible when our Detroit Lions, or if you're not a Lions fan, if you're a fan of another team, when your team makes the pick. So with all of that being said, with the first prospect breakdown coming to this channel today, I mentioned it yesterday, we are going to be taking a look at Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons. As I said in this video, we're going to be going over Micah Parsons' measurables, his statistics, the takeaways I had from watching some of his games, his accolades, and everything you need to know about the prospect in Micah Parsons. But however, before we get into the video and before we get into talking about Micah Parsons, potentially the best player, the best defensive player in this class, if you are new to the channel and you are enjoying this NFL content and this draft content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of every day to do so, and it helps the channel out more than you could know. If you could do that, take those 2 seconds to like and subscribe. I'd be super appreciative for it. But with all of that being said, without any further ado, let's get into evaluating Micah Parsons, the prospect from Penn State. Now, Micah Parsons is a very athletically gifted player. He stands at 6'3", 245 pounds, which would put him right around the biggest linebacker on the Detroit Lions roster, and would obviously put him in a top percentile for a majority of linebackers in the NFL. Now, as I said, Micah Parsons is a very athletic guy, very athletically gifted, has the size, has the speed to be a very good linebacker. Looking at his statistics from his true freshman season in the 2018 college football season, he did not play a ton. However, he did total 82 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, a sack and a half with 2 forced fumbles. Not a bad season for a true freshman. Actually, a very good season for a true freshman in college football, playing at one of the highest levels of competition you can play at. And as a result, he was awarded with a All-American. He was awarded a spot on the All-American freshman team of the 2018 class. Now, obviously, those are decent stats, right? Those stats for a true freshman: 82 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, and 2 forced fumbles. Not a bad season by a true freshman playing linebacker at one, as I said, at the highest level of competition in college football. However, when it came to his sophomore campaign in the 2019 season, his last season as a Nittany Lion, he went off, and he didn't even play as much as he could have in this season either. However, in the 2019 season, Micah Parsons totaled 109 total tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 5 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Now, those are very impressive stats, and if you look at just his last game versus number 17 Memphis, he had 14 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 passes defended, and 2 forced fumbles. And that was, as I said, versus the number 15 team in the country. So Micah Parsons is a very good player. Obviously, Micah Parsons puts up the statistics. He has the build. He passes the eye test. He passes the statistics test. He has all the stats you could want. He has the build you want. He has the athleticism that you want. However, obviously, stats don't tell the whole story. You know, stats do not tell everything. Micah Parsons, in case you were curious, did opt out of the 2020 season, so he did not play this year. However, obviously, you know, that's going to be concerning to some people. However, to me, that's that's not super concerning because he's been working with people. It's not like he's just been sitting on his couch for the last, 8 months or whatever. He's been working with personnel. He's been working with personal trainers and stuff. He's doing something very similar to what Nick Bosa did when he was coming out of Ohio State. Obviously Nick Bosa got injured, which caused him to do that, but, Micah Parsons opted out. He's been working with personal trainers, refining techniques, obviously watching tape most likely, going over everything that he can do to get better and get prepared for the NFL draft, for the NFL combine and all of that. So, it might be a concern to some people that Micah Parsons opted out of 2020. However, to me, that does not affect me, and that does not really turn me off or turn me away from Micah Parsons in the slightest. And that goes for every player. For me, if a player opted out of the 2020 season, that doesn't really, it's a little concerning to me because I haven't seen them play in a year, but it's, again, they've been working with people, they've been refining their skills, they've been getting better over, I guess, their off season technically. They've been getting better as they train with more people. So, the fact that he opted out of 2020 doesn't really scare me a whole lot, but I know some people, does worry them slightly. Now, as I said, in Micah Parsons' Nittany Lion career, he was very underutilized as a linebacker, even though he was by far the best player on that defense. Micah Parsons only played in 74.5% of defensive snaps for the Nittany Lions in his sophomore campaign. So, he only played in 3/4 of the snaps, but still had 109 tackles, 14 TFLs, 5 sacks, 5 pass defended, 4 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, all that good stuff. So, even being underutilized, Micah Parsons put up amazing, phenomenal stats that any linebacker wishes and dreams that they could put up as a sophomore in college football in the Big Ten. Now, obviously, statistics don't tell the whole story, right? I've said this a couple times. Statistics are a good way to know a player. Statistics are a good way to look at a player. However, tape doesn't lie. Statistics, numbers can lie to you, whether they had a big game, whether they just had a couple big games and had a couple bad games. Statistics can lie to you a little bit. So instead of just going strictly off statistics, I went and I watched 2 of Micah Parsons' games. I watched his game versus number 17 Minnesota, and I watched his game versus number 15 Memphis, and I kind of got my takeaways. I kind of got my observations from the best competition he played. I couldn't find the Ohio State game, or else I would have watched that game as well. I did find the other 2 top teams that he did play, and from what I saw against those teams, I was very, very impressed. I was very impressed with what I saw from Micah Parsons in both the Minnesota game and the Memphis game. Now, the first thing I noticed right away when they used Micah Parsons, as I said, which was a little rarer than I would have liked to see. I don't know why they didn't play him. They just kept rotating him in and out of the lineup, even though he was by far their best and most efficient player. But when he was on the field, I noticed a lot of very good things immediately, like that. So the first thing that I noticed was that he gets penetration in the backfield incredibly fast. Whether that be around the edge, whether that be shooting a gap in the line, he gets a fantastic penetration through the line. He's always getting through the line, always getting a quick hit on the quarterback, always putting pressure on the quarterback, always getting a quick hit on the running back. He always causes pressure. He always gets through the line. It's incredibly fast how quickly he does it because it is so fast. He's so effective at it. He's so athletic. He can get around tackles with some good bend and some good pass rushing moves. He can shoot straight through the line with his just pure athleticism, quickness, and burst. He's a phenomenal athlete. He has incredible burst. He has incredible, short length speed, incredible quickness, and that helps him penetrate the line so incredibly well. And in Penn State's system, what I realized is he blitzes a lot. He goes after the quarterback a ton as a linebacker, and he is incredibly effective at it because of his speed, his quickness, and just his pure athleticism. He is a phenomenal pass rusher. He is a phenomenal blitzer, very similar to Jared Davis. However, I think Micah Parsons is even better than Jared Davis at blitzing. The first thing I noticed right away on the first snap of the ball is he gets penetration incredibly quickly, and every single play disrupts what the offense is trying to do. Every single play, he either makes the quarterback throw it early, or he makes the running back go the opposite way of him, or he affects every single play because of his quickness and his penetration into the backfield immediately. Now, the second thing I noticed when watching Micah Parsons is that he never wastes a play. Like Micah Parsons, I've seen a couple players before where, if they're in a zone coverage, right? If they're in zone coverage, if nobody's in that zone, they kind of relax and they don't do anything. With Micah Parsons, I didn't see that. Either versus Minnesota, which admittedly he didn't cover a lot, but when he did, it looked very solid. And then versus Memphis, it was the same thing where if he was put in zone coverage or if he was put in man coverage and his player was blocking if he was in man and his player was blocking, or he was in zone and nobody was coming into his area, he had permission to do what's called green dogging, and he would blitz immediately. If he saw nobody was coming into his area, if he saw that his guy was blocking, he had the he had the go-ahead from his coach to go blitz the quarterback, and I saw that over and over and over again in both games, and in every single time he would get pressure on the quarterback even though he was 2 or 3 seconds late, even though he took 2 or 3 seconds in coverage to diagnose whether or not a player was going out on a route, or 2 to 3 seconds to determine whether a player was going to come into his zone. He still got pressure on the quarterback. He still put pressure there. He was still able to go affect the quarterback's passing window, and again, he doesn't waste plays. He's always going to be looking to make a play. He's never going to be content just sitting in his zone and saying, well, I couldn't do anything. I was in my zone. I was doing my job. Like, if his zone isn't being attacked, if he isn't being attacked in man coverage, he's going to go get the quarterback. He's going to go get whoever's having the ball in his hands. And that is something I really like. He is fast. He's aggressive. He's going to go get the ball carrier over and over and over again. And that's why he has such high tackles. That's why he has such good numbers, is because he's so aggressive and he never ever takes the play off. He never wastes a play. And that is something I really, really like about Micah Parsons. To go along with that, he's always around the ball. He's always getting tackles. He's so fast. He's so quick. Of course, I mentioned at the beginning of these observations and my takeaways, he's so quick and so explosive. He's always around the ball. He's always shooting gaps. He's always affecting the quarterback. If it's a handoff, he always gets to the running back. If it's a pass even behind him, he always gets to the wide receiver down the field. He never takes a play off. He's always around the football, always getting tackles, always making plays. And with that in mind, that's why I like Micah Parsons, because we need athleticism in our linebacking core. I think Jarrad Davis is a great athlete, but I think he needs a little bit more refinement as a player. But other than that, Chris Jones is not a good athlete. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, not a great athlete. Reggie Ragland, I like Reggie Ragland. He's not a great athlete. Jamie Collins is far from the athlete he was a couple of years ago. Like, we need speed in our linebacking core. Micah Parsons would bring that to the linebacking core. Micah Parsons would bring speed. He would bring athleticism. He would bring effectiveness. He would bring a mentality to the linebacking core that would make every single player better. And the fact that he's always around the ball, always making plays, is something I love about Micah Parsons, and something I noticed very quickly when watching his tape. Now, the one thing that is kind of a negative for me is at times Micah Parsons can get over aggressive, whether that be over pursuing on a run play, whether that be over pursuing to the outside and then getting blocked off, or whether that be, I saw one where he was going out to get the screen pass, but he was a little over effective and ended up getting blocked out of the play anyway. At times he can be over aggressive. At times Micah Parsons can over pursue. At times Micah Parsons can be too aggressive on a play, especially in pass coverage, and that is kind of my one negative on him. However, as I said, working with personal trainers in the season, obviously opting out of the season and working with coaches, working with players to refine and get better, I would expect that to become better as he obviously gets NFL experience, as he gets more experience as a linebacker, as he gets better coaches, as he gets coached at a higher level. With all of that being the case, I would expect his over aggression and I would expect some of his flaws to get ironed out even before the NFL season and even before he gets to the NFL. But that is the one thing I did notice, is at times Micah can be a little over aggressive, especially in coverage. There were several times in zone coverage where I felt that, whether it was a fake screen pass, whether it was maybe a counter or maybe a reverse or a flip or whatever it was, a touch pass, at times I felt like Micah Parsons was a little over aggressive in zone coverage, where he would diagnose the screen, which was good, right? He would diagnose the screen and he would go over to the screen. He would go and try to make a play on the screen, but if it was a fake screen, then he would leave the middle of the field wide open for a big play. And I did see that a couple times versus Memphis. However, he does struggle in zone coverage at times. However, in man coverage, he is very solid. In man coverage, he is very sticky, obviously uses athleticism, obviously uses his ability to stay with the running back or the tight end. So in man coverage, he's pretty solid. However, in zone coverage, he does get a little aggressive and does try to make plays where the play just doesn't need to be made, if that makes sense. And that's kind of my observation on Micah Parsons. He's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal prospect. He makes a ton of plays because of his aggression. And again, that over aggression might be a Penn State thing, because I did see that with a lot of their linebackers. It wasn't just Micah Parsons over pursuing and jumping on screen passes and trying to, jump those screen passes early. That was a Penn State linebacker thing in general. That was even just a Penn State defensive thing in general. So I don't know if that's how they're coached. I don't know if that's how their linebacker coach wanted them to play a little over aggressive, jump plays before you necessarily see them, or, if you see a screen pass, just go and deal with the consequences later kind of a mentality. I don't know if that was the case with their coaching staff and if that's what their coaches wanted them to do, because I saw that with a lot of different Penn State players, so that could have just been what his coach told them to do. But, with all of that being said, that's not bad takeaways from Micah Parsons. He's a phenomenal athlete. He has an incredible motor. He has incredible athleticism to go with that motor. He gets amazing penetration. He's always around the ball, always making plays. He's decent. He's He's okay in zone coverage. He's very good at man coverage. I mean, there's a reason he got all the accolades and all the hype he did. You know, there's a reason he was a consensus All-American in 2019. There's a reason he was a first-team All-Big Ten in 2019. There's a reason he won the Butkus Award in 2019. There's a reason he was the Cotton Bowl Defensive MVP. There's a reason he was a first-team freshman All-American. Plus, he has more awards to go on top of that. There's a reason he is an elite prospect. There is a reason that a lot of people have him going in the top 10. It's because he is the best defensive player in the draft. And if the Lions have an opportunity to take him, or if any team, if your team has an opportunity to take Micah Parsons, they should absolutely do it. You know, this is a very solid linebacker class, right? You have Micah Parsons, you have Zaven Collins, you have Dylan Moses, you have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You have a lot of different linebackers that can do a lot of different things incredibly well. And Micah Parsons, to me, stands out from the rest. To me, Micah Parsons is not just another linebacker in this class. He is a generational player. He is a generational talent, from the athleticism, from the build, from the statistics, to the motor and the mindset. He is a phenomenal player. And if the Lions, or if any team, has a chance to draft Micah Parsons and they pass on him, they will live to regret it, because he is that kind of player. He is that kind of, he is that kind of prospect where if you pass on Micah Parsons, you will regret it for the rest of the time with that team. However, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. That was my first prospect breakdown of the offseason. Of course, I had to start off with Micah Parsons. He's my favorite player in the draft. He's the best defensive player, in my opinion, in the draft. I want the Lions to go out and draft this guy in the first round at number 7. Of course, if he does fall to us, and if we get lucky enough to have the opportunity to draft Micah Parsons. However, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Of course, let me know down in the comments the next prospect you would like to see. I'll do quarterbacks. I'll do everything. I'll do a lot of different people. If y'all want to see a quarterback next, I'll do a quarterback. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Please leave down in the comments the next prospect that you would like to see me break down and evaluate for either your team. But with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more content. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.